Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. For this month's Quasar Commander video, the holder of that illustrious title has given me carte blanche to talk about whatever subject I'd like, which means it's time for a follow-up that I've been waiting to do for a long time. Back in the days of yore, I taught all of you how to play the Digimon card game. Now it's time to bring it into the explained fold, and I can't think of a better way to put my best foot forward than with my absolute favorite Digimon. As someone who watched the Digimon movie growing up in all its turn of the millennium glory, Omnimon made a lasting impression on me. Iconic, striking, and powerful, this combination of War Greymon and Metal Garurumon changed the game. But wouldn't be as cool if it didn't have a suitably diabolical foil, Diaboromon. With a sleek combination of cool and creepy, not to mention being a timeless personification of computer viruses, I've been enamored with it ever since it blew up the big screen. So hearing it had a sizable card pool in the game was very exciting, and I can't wait to show it off to all of you. So grab your Digivices and make sure not to send too many emails, cause it's time for Diaboromon Explained. So what's the deal with Diaboromon? Well, you'd think as an evolutionary line planted squarely in black that it'd have a lot of defensive options to choose from, but our game plan is as unique as today's subject. Diaboromon was the first, and makes frequent use of, tokens. I do so love how the card game translates the source material into mechanics, and I couldn't think of a better way to do so than by flooding the field with copies, like how Diaboromon does at the climax of his section in the movie. Something that was so powerful that it took the most overprinted boss monster in the game to deal with it. But before we get into that, we've got to start from the ground floor, and that means talking about our level 2s, our cute Digi-Eggs, Tsumemon. We have two to choose from, both of which are typed as unidentified. The BT2 version gives a Your Turn inheritable, which boosts your Digimon's DP by 2000 as long as you have another Digimon in play with the same name. While the BT5 version gives a when attacking once per turn inheritable effect that gives you a draw if this Digimon has unidentified in its type. The DP boost is nice and plays into the token game plan because all the ones we plan to make are going to be Diaboromons, so once we get to that level it'll be a bit stronger. But it only really works once we get to that level, while the draw effect is almost always going to be live no matter what stage we're at, doing a great job of keeping you stocked up on cards. So as far as this Evo line goes, BT5 should be your go-to choice. You know, because it'll get you a handful of cards. Next up we have our level 3 rookie, Keramon, and thankfully a lot of their stats are very consistent. Each one is of the unidentified type and unknown attribute, have a play cost of 3, Digivolve cost of 0, and have 2000 DP. Most of them are also vanillas, with the exception of the BT5 version, which has an on-play effect that reveals the top 5 cards of your deck, and you add a Digimon card with unidentified in its type, and or an Errata Sonata card from among them to your hand. Then place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is fantastic in almost any stage of the game, since it lets you grab basically any member of your Digimon line, and gets you your signature tamer. And as those tend to be, is a very important part to how the deck functions. However, this one lacks an inheritable, which is something that can't be said about the rest. BT2 Keramon has a Your Turn inheritable effect that gives you a draw whenever you play another Digimon with the same name as this one. While this can randomly work with our other stages, it's not really feasible unless we combo it with our token generation, in which case has much stronger utility. Especially when you see that it doesn't have a once per turn indicator, meaning the only ceiling on your card draw is your token generating effects, making this Keramon a great one to Digivolve into from Tsumemon while you play the BT5 right from your hand. EX Keramon has a Your Turn inheritable effect that gives the Digimon 1000 DP for each other Digimon you have in play with the same name as it, which is potentially a much stronger boost than the similar Tsumemon effect. Because where that gives you a flat 2000 DP just for meeting the condition, this one actually scales with the amount of same named mons you have, though it still only works on your turn, so it's still not super helpful defensively. That leaves us with the P Keramon, the P stands for promo, that has an opponent's turn inheritable that gives the Digimon a flat 1000 DP boost. I guess I complained too much about the defensiveness. Technically, this does help on that front, but 1000 by itself isn't doing you many favors, so I'd recommend passing on it. I'd also recommend running as many BT5 Keramon as you can get away with for that sweet on-play effect, and BT2 for the draw. with maybe some EX1s thrown in there for the rushdown. But no matter which one you choose, we can all appreciate the vacant, innocent stare of this little data gremlin. It's like they don't have a single Kara in the world. Let's move things up to our champion, Kurisarimon. They're all still unidentified and unknown, but that's about as far as the similarities go. The BT2 version has a play cost of 5, Digivolve cost of 2, and has 4000 DP. And it has a your turn inheritable effect where you gain a memory anytime you play a Digimon with the same name as this Digimon. Much like the BT2 Keramon, there's no cap to this effect, so the more tokens you can make, the better, helping you either mitigate the cost of making the token, or just giving you more memory that you can use to play out your turn. The BT5 version has a play cost of 5, Digivolve cost of 2, 4000 DP, and when Digivolving, plays an Errata Sonata from your hand at no cost if you don't have any in play. It also has a your turns inheritable effect where all your Digimon of the same name as this Digimon gain Rush. Its effect means that most of the time it's going to be a vanilla, but being able to get out a free tamer isn't half bad. And while I'd normally want to cut down on copies of this because of that, you'll want to play enough to take advantage of that sweet rush effect so your tokens can pressure your opponent the second they come into play. The EX1 version has a play cost of 4, Digivolve cost of 2, and 5000 DP, and it has a your turn and once per turn inheritable effect that unsuspends this Digimon when another of the same name is deleted. That can get pretty messy pretty quickly, as you can attack with your main Diaboromon, swing in with some tokens, and if any of them get blasted, you get another swing with your flagship Mon, or you can just keep it unsuspended for defensive purposes. The P14 version has a play cost of 4, Digivolve cost of 2, DP of 5000, and comes with blocker, though does lose you 2 memory if it attacks. Yeah, it's one of those old school blockers, glad we don't have many of those nowadays. And to rub salt in the wound, it doesn't even come with an inheritable we can use. Lastly is the P45 version, which has a play cost of 4, Digivolve cost of 2, and a DP of 5000. It gives an all turns inheritable effect that grants all other Digimon you control with the same name, Decoy, Black-White. Decoy is a bit of a more recent keyword, so for those unfamiliar, if the designated Digimon would be destroyed by an opponent's effect, in this case a black or white Digimon, you can delete the Digimon with Decoy to prevent the original deletion, which basically boils down to using your Diaboromon tokens as a way to avoid getting punked out by Gaia forces. So for my Yu-Gi-Oh people in the audience, it kind of works like the original 6 Samurais, where Shien can pop another 6 Samurai to keep it safe, and is just as useful for us here as it keeps us safe from removal like Gaia forces, though you're still going to have an issue against DP reduction. In fact, because it only protects against a certain kind of interaction, make sure to check your meta to see if this is even worth it. We have a pretty good spread of effects this level, and you can really tailor your loadout to however your deck's playstyle manifests. BT2 is here if you're memory hungry and need a little extra boost, BT5 lets you be a little more aggressive, EX1 can refresh your boss, and P45 can help against annoying spot removal. You'll want to run a healthy blend of a few of these, but personal note, could we go back to calling them Kurisarimon? I like that name. Next up we have our level 5 ultimate, Infermon. Once again, we're still unknown and unidentified. The BT2 version has a play cost of 7, Digivolve cost of 3, a DP of 6000, and on your turn, when this Digimon digivolves into a Diaboromon from your hand, reduce the memory cost by 1, helping to make transitioning up the ladder just a tad smoother, though it does lack an inheritable to give you some extra zhuzh. The BT5 version has a play cost of 7, Digivolve cost of 3, a DP of 5000, and your Keramons can digivolve into this card in hand for a memory cost of 4, ignoring this card's digivolution requirements. And it has an on-deletion inheritable effect that plays a Diaboromon token without paying its memory cost. Those tokens, by the way, are level 6, white, are also unidentified, unknown, have a play cost of 14, and have 3000 DP, so they're not exactly powerhouses. This is an interesting Digimon because it is cheaper and faster to go right from Keramon into Infermon, but you're missing out on a potential Kurisari inheritable, so this eventual Diaboromon won't have as many options. And while it might sound like a quick way to get into Diaboro so another one can trigger its effects that see another Diaboromon come into play, remember that in this case, it would be digivolved, not played, so it's not even useful in that regard. That being said, while doing research, I found that there are a number of Diaboromon that you really just want to get into play as soon as possible. so this Infermon makes a great bridge for getting into your haymakers. You can build another stack for your Diaboromon if you're looking for all those bonuses. Not to mention that by being replaced with a token can trigger those effects because you'd be playing a new Diaboromon. The EX1 version has a play cost of 8, Digivolve cost of 3, a DP of 7,000, and once per turn during your opponent's turn, when an opponent's Digimon digivolves into a level 5 or higher Digimon, you gain a memory. It also has an all turns inheritable where, during all turns, all of your other Digimon with the same name as this Digimon gain 2,000 DP. That's phenomenal for making your tokens champion-sized rather than rookie-sized, and if you have to end your turn on an Infermon, you can do worse than having a Mon that steals some memory. Lastly is the P version, which has a play cost of 7, Digivolve cost of 3, a DP of 7,000, and an on-play effect that de-digivolves one of your opponent's Digimon. That's a bit more in line with one of Black's main tools, but doing that for a cost of 7 is brutally inefficient. I absolutely cannot recommend this, especially because this also doesn't have an inheritable. This level doesn't come with quite as many showstoppers as others, with EX1 being the only one I can fully recommend and P being right out. The BTs have their merits, and you might need to invest in a few of them to smooth out your summoning curves, but the lack of good choices is positively infuriating. Okay, here it is, the notorious net wrecker themselves, Diaboromon, coming in at level 6. Like our past Mons, it is unknown and unidentified, but there's an even bigger twist here, because not even all of our Diaboromons are black. For instance, the BT2 version has a play cost of 14, Digivolve cost of 4, DP of 10,000, and is white. When attacking, you play a Diaboromon token without paying its memory cost. And in all turns, when this Digimon would be deleted in battle, you may delete one of your other Diaboromons to prevent this Digimon from being deleted. This synergizes with a ton of our inheritable effects. The Unsuspend from EX1 Kurisari means you get to attack again while refreshing the lost token, with the P45 Kurisari adding effect destruction protection to that battle protection. And of course, every single inheritable that gets you value when you play another Diaboromon will trigger as well. This is basically the gold standard for Diaboromons, but is by no means the only one worth playing. The BT5 version has a play cost of 11, Digivolve cost of 2, 11,000 DP, and is white. When digivolving, it plays a Diaboromon token without paying its cost. This is the preferred Digimon to evolve into if you're using the fast track provided by BT5 Infermon, because while digivolving into this won't trigger our inheritables, playing the token when we do, does. It's a pretty nice option to have in your tool belt if you find yourself with extra Mons on board to digivolve into. The EX1 version has a play cost of 12, Digivolve cost of 3, 11,000 DP, and is white. It comes with a security effect, playing a Diaboromon token after the battle without paying its cost. It also has an effect during your opponent's turn that gives all your Diaboromon's blocker, another outstanding effect. This means by going wide with tokens, not only are you threatening a number of security attacks, you're keeping yourself safe from the opponents. The P16 version has a play cost of 11, Digivolve cost of 3, 11,000 DP, and has now pivoted back to black. On your turn, it gains security attack +1 for each Diaboromon you have in play. This is the main way you're going to close out games, because this effect is nutty. Keep in mind that it doesn't exclude itself when counting for security attack, so it's already going to be swinging in for 2 every time. So with 3 tokens, this can take out a whole security stack by itself. Or, if you have the EX1 Kurisari inheritable, all it takes is 1 token. Swing with this, check for 3 security, then find a way to blow up your token. Unsuspend, then check for 2. And at that point, all you need is 1 more Digimon to attack directly for game. I'd argue this is another really good Diaboromon to fast track into, because at that point you're probably already flush with tokens to make use of this effect, so it turns out BT5 Infermon was a lot more valuable than I'd given it credit for. Our last one is a very recent addition using a very new mechanic. The P114 version, Diaboromon Ace, has a play cost of 6, Digivolution cost of 3, 11,000 DP, and is black, and comes with Blast Digivolution, which comes with the hand and counter indicators. And since it is so new, I think a brief explanation of the mechanic is in order. See, for a long time, most interaction in Digimon was fairly telegraphed. No one played anything out of their hand during their opponent's turn, and most everything was some kind of trigger effect a Digimon on board would have. But with the most recent set, the game has included counter timing, which is a part of the game right after someone attacks and has resolved all their on-attack effects, but before the defending player declares blockers. And while presumably in the future any number of effects could be tailored for this, Currently the only one being used is Blast Digivolution, which digivolves them at no cost, but has a drawback we'll get into in a bit. So essentially how it works is your opponent attacks, they resolve everything they have, then, if you so desire, you can take this Diaboromon and digivolve it on top of any level 5 black one you have on board. Okay, back to the card itself. When attacking or when digivolving, including Blast Digivolving, you may play a Diaboromon token without paying its memory cost, giving it a similar function to our BT2 version. But also, during all turns once per turn, when another Digimon is played by an effect, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 3 or less, but that cap is increased by 2 for every Diaboromon you have in play. So counting itself, because the ace doesn't actually change its name, and the Diaboromon token you make with its on Digivolve effect, you're already able to hit anything with a play cost of 7 or lower. This means your opponent can attack, you can spring a Diaboromon into play, and then reasonably hit anything from champion or below. And if you already have a few more Diaboromon established, you can snipe some serious targets. Also notice that it checks when any other Digimon is played by an effect, which means this works when you play a token, cheat a Digimon into play using some other method, or when your opponent does the same thing, meaning you can curtail their lines of play out of nowhere if they need to do things like play Digimon from the grave. Though, notably, this doesn't work if they digivolve a Digimon from out of the grave, that's a whole different thing. This would be the new best Diaboromon by a landslide, if not for Ace Overflow, something that all these newfangled Blast Digivolving Ace monsters share. If Diaboromon Ace is sent from the battle area or from under another card to any other area, you lose 4 memory. Now, this isn't a problem if you never lose it, but it's probably gonna happen, so when you summon this, make sure it counts, because if your opponent can clear this, they just got a lot of memory to work with, and they will make you regret it. All in all, we have some outrageous Diaboromon to choose from, and while I think the Ace version is going to be integral to future success, heck, Blast Digivolving onto EX1 Infermon just feels like Value Town. BT2 and P16 are still going to be cornerstones of the deck all their own, and there's so many ways you can utilize their unique properties that you'll never be bored of this mon. But that's not the end of it, because we have a level 7 to cover, Armageddemon. It's got a play cost of 15, a digivolve cost of 3 that can digivolve from either a black or white level 6 Digimon, and has a DP of 15,000, which is pretty big. That play cost is pretty daunting, but you can reduce it by 12 if you destroy a Diaboromon when playing it from the hand. It comes with Rush, so it can attack the second it hits the board, and during all turns, the when digivolving effect of level 7 Digimon don't activate. So on top of everything else, it's also a floodgate for some of the most brutal effects in the game. Like, look at a random level 7 Digimon, and it's more than likely to have an on-digivolve effect that just ends the game on the spot. So getting this out early can declaw some of your opponent's more brutal moves. Other than that though, I just like that it's a big doofus that hits hard and fast, but it isn't even my favorite Digimon named after a world-ending disaster. That honor goes to Apocalymon. I mean, it's the ultimate evil, and it comes with hot and cold running water. Okay, that's all of our Digimon, but we've got a tamer to go with it. Arata Sonata is a tamer with a play cost of 3, is black, and has the usual tamer security effect of being played at no cost. At the start of your turn, if a Digimon card with unidentified in its type is in your trash, you gain a memory, and during your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves into Diaboromon, you may suspend this tamer to play a Diaboromon token at no cost. All these effects are pretty good and compound very well. It, of course, works well with any memory setter, getting you to 3 before applying the extra memory, and the more Sonatas you get in play, the better your bonus gets. It also translates to more tokens, which not only means more bodies on board, but more value out of your inheritables. Digivolve up to Diaboromon, suspend, let's say 2 Arata Sonatas, make 2 tokens, and that means you get 2 draws off of BT2 Keramon's inheritable, and 2 memory from BT2 Kurisari's. A very solid tamer, and ticks off all the blue boxes needed for a great card. Our last section is going to cover all of our related option cards. First is Spider Shooter. It has a play cost of 3, is black, and de-digivolves one of your opponent's Digimon by 1, and its security effect just activates the main effect. Nothing surprising here. If your opponent is on an annoying high-level Digimon and you need to get rid of its effects, this will get the job done. Catastrophe Cannon is a play cost of 4, also black, and triggers de-digivolve 2 on an opponent's Digimon when played. then plays a Diaboromon token at no cost if you already control a Diaboromon. And the security effect also activates the main effect. Wow, this card is nasty, no two ways about it. For just one more memory, you get to de-digivolve one more, and you potentially get to trigger any inheritables for summoning that token. This is probably the best on-theme option we have. Lastly, we have Ultimate Flare, which has a play cost of 8, is black, de-digivolves an opponent's Digimon by 3 levels, then deletes all of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 3 or less. And the security effect also activates the main. This one is going to be a lot more situational. During formats where it's good to summon a lot of rookies who comfortably fit under that 3 play cost threshold, this is going to be an invaluable tool to out all those little critters. But if the meta doesn't call for that, this is kind of a dud. Undeniably powerful, but does take up way too many resources for what it does, especially outside of its niche. Really, just go Catastrophe Cannon all the way and don't look back. It's a total blast. Alright, so that's all the Diaboromon cards, but do we have any other cards that we can splash in? After all, one of the big strengths of this game is that you get to mix and match all kinds of critters, so what other off-brand cards can you add to Diaboromon's devilish designs? As far as ways to help with consistency, you can't go wrong with Black Memory Boost. It digs you 4 cards deep to find any of your black Digimon to add to your hand, then on a future turn, you can cash it in to give yourself a bit of a memory boost, like the name implies, to help with more expensive turns. However, like the memory boosts, a new cycle of helpful option cards with the delay function have been introduced in a recent promo pack, the training cards. Defense training may not look at the same number of cards, but can get you any black card, which means not only can you grab a Digimon that you want, but you could also grab an option or a tamer card. And while it doesn't give you memory outright, it does let you digivolve at a discount of 2, so it kinda does the same thing, it just means you have to use that extra memory for a Digivolution, which for us, ain't that bad. To round out our tamer roster, I'd suggest playing the ST15 version of Tai Kamiya. It's a memory setter, which is a great start, and has a pretty neat effect when we have EX1 Diaboromon in play. Since blockers change the attack target, this triggers that effect, giving you a draw and boosting a Digimon by 2 KDP for the turn. And because this works on all turns, you can even benefit from this if your opponent tries to pull something with this effect. Izzy might be a good choice, as it can rearrange the top cards of your deck to prevent bricking, but if we flip any early Diaboromons with this effect, you can kiss that bonus memory goodbye. Analog Youth also wouldn't be a bad idea. It helps smooth out our hands by getting the right Digimon into it, and by sending the rest to the grave, we can ensure that Arata Sonata's memory effect is online. And of course, the effect that triggers when a big Digimon gets destroyed just oozes value. Just make sure not to try to trigger this when a token gets destroyed, because it has to have Digivolution sources under it, which our tokens won't have. Speaking of tamers though, getting to Arata is going to be key to our success, and that's where the EX2 Monodramon comes in. BT5 Keramon already does a good job of digging for our signature tamer, but this Monodramon gets you all black tamers in your top 4, which works really well if we splash in those other tamers. BT11 Mamemon isn't too shabby either. Its effect works when digivolved into or when played, so it's got a nice bit of versatility, and its inheritable actually works with our game plan pretty well. Since making a token is playing a Digimon by an effect, this gives one of your Digimon blocker until the end of your opponent's turn, making for a nifty alternative to the EX1 Diaboromon. If you want an alternative boss monster to lean on, Quartzmon is a pretty impactful choice. Since it evolves from both white and black Digimon, it can be played on top of any Diaboromon we have, then taps down every other Digimon and tamer in play, keeping any suspend-reliant action locked down, or in the case of new cards, a one-time use only. And the more tokens you had in play, the more memory you can get on Digivolve, and the more security you can peel off your opponent's security stack when you make an attack. As for a silly tech pick, give BT3 Metaledemon a shot. And I'm not just saying that as a fan of the freaky Elvis monkey. Sometimes there are just too many blockers keeping you from closing out the game. And since Metaledemon can't be blocked, you can solve that problem lickety-split. Or should I say, banana split. And that's all I have to say about Diaboromon. I love seeing my gangly boy being so well represented in the game, and I hope we get some sweet new support in the future. I'm still waiting on that Diaboromon X Bandai. So 3 cheers to the best creepy crawly around, and here's hoping we can finally get a satisfying answer to who can count backwards from 10. Until then, I want to hear what you all have to say. Do you have any spicy Diaboromon techs? And which Digimon would you like to see me cover in a future episode? Also, big thank you to AgitoSwiftly and Taste of Victory for help on this script. While I do my best to keep up on Digimon knowledge, I'm not exactly immersed in it as of yet, so getting their advice was really helpful. Their links are in the description, make sure you give them a follow, both of them are really cool. Today's episode was brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. When you want to protect your cards with the power of dragon scales, get some sweet lore for them, and support the channel, check out my link in the description to get started. Today's episode was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including the illustrious Quasar Commander Green Knight, Nebula Navigator's 3rd Dynasty, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Andrew Newman, A Random Pup, Avi Chali, Kane Senpai, Chibi Gohan, Clockswork, Danny Bound, Eric, Aaron the World Breaker, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Genesis Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gloomba331, Great Big Pillock, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Howling Zangetsu, Iskander711, John, Julius Sneezer, Mana Charge, Marluxia's a Girl, Molly Renata, Nathan Vig, Orozco09096, Panther J, Rebel King Lucifer, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sammy Haim, Sir Knight JCB, Skybuster Leo, Sophie, apparently, The Wizard Moose and Xander Wolfensberger, Cosmic Crusaders Almento 5010, Ariel Kersey, Beluga Masta, Blue Gem, Callum McCann, Chaz Ghost, Corbinisms, Drachenwald, Drake and SpongeBob be like, you used to call me on your shell phone, Eki Bullock, Emony, Eva Padilla, Hike Boyagian, Herbal D, Inblink, Jester Designs, Kale the Dragon, Carp, Kevon Public, King Scarlet Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lemon Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lord Whoop-De-Doo, Manga Pages, Marion James E. Picata, Matt Simmons, Mega Combi, Michael Shimabukuro, Nadia McCarthy, Nitromo, Ruxith Sarani, Shizuka Nijimura, Star-Lord 777, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, Tucker Ordorn, Venusian Teapot, and Zaldureka, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to be a part of these credits, help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, and participate in the monthly custom card reviews, I would be eternally grateful if you checked out my Patreon in the description or joined up as a YouTube member. And if you'd like to see another video where I gush about Digimon, check out this video where I cover the most flavorful card ever printed, Marcus Damon. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.